day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. I got another rock star, superhero, guru, just the myth, the man, the legend. But before I get into who he is, let me tell you a little bit about himself. So he is not your extraordinary human being. He did not have a formal education beyond high school. He entered the real estate market at one of the worst times in history for that industry. His wife was critically ill at the time, and he was injured, so he couldn't even work. What makes him different and very successful as a businessman and real estate investor is that he took action and then kept taking action steps. There's your gem right there, ladies and gentlemen. Learning and earning to get him where he is today. Prior to entering the sharing economy, he taught real estate strategies based on his years of experience. He has owned hundreds of units, raised tens of millions of dollars, and even owned cell phone towers. Yes, that is a question for later because I want to know as well. He was all but retired at the age of 38 when one of his students asked what he knew about short-term rentals. While the answer at the time was not very much, he started looking into the model and was astounded at the opportunities it presented. Since that fateful day, my guest, who's on here right now, so get your pens, pads out right now, even your voice recorder. He became a full-time real estate investor, founded Cashflow Diary, and now runs a 34-unit short-term rental business, which has created more profit faster than any other strategy has seen before. He has also reached 10,000s of listeners as the host of his own podcast, The Cashflow Diary, and delighted readers as the author of the Cashflow Diary book, and has commanded rooms as highly sought after speaker and changed countless lives as a wildly successful business coach for entrepreneurs. And I got him on the show right here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, Jay Massey. Jay, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, I don't know. I just want to keep hearing who you were talking about.
So there's this guy that's going to be on my show in like 30 seconds.
I just think that was good. I mean, sometimes it takes a moment like this to remember that, oh yeah, I did do something, right? Yeah, because I don't think about that. I don't, as much as I think about the fact all of us do what we do for a reason, and my reason is I just wanted to eat. I wasn't trying to do something quote unquote great. But my idea of great was everybody eats, because at the time I was, squatting in bank-owned property, and I don't have a college degree. I don't have the things that the world says I'm supposed to have. So the concept of being able to feed my family was enough to motivation, and it still is, so that I can keep moving forward, because that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
I love that, man. I love that. And you tapped a little bit on your backstory, because I heard squatting, bank-owned property from the beginning. If you could, in your own story, own words, tell us where you got started and where you're at right now.
So, okay. So what I will say is this: regardless of all the things you may hear or have heard, the thing I want to make sure that you hear is your story isn't over. It may not even have started yet. And that's how I feel today. I feel like I'm just getting started. But I was, I was squatting in bank-owned property. I was homeless. We didn't have a place to stay. And a friend said, you should learn about real estate investing, which made no sense to me because the credit score was 398 and I had less than no money. So you have to understand, less than no money, credit score is 398. What does that mean? Most people say it means go get a job, which is what my friend said. And I'm like, where, how, from whom, and how much are they going to actually pay? There was just so many questions, and that wasn't going to cut it. So someone else said, you should get involved in real estate. Well, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's one of those times where I did not let what I did not have stop me, which is what most of us do. When presented with an opportunity, we go, oh, well, I don't have this and I don't have that, so I can't. You didn't even look. Open the book. Ask another question first. You never know. And that's what I found out, is it was one of those few times where I didn't do that. And I just said, okay, cool. Well, you're going to have to show me how to do this with no money, no credit, because I have neither. And if that's possible, then great. And I was honestly being not exactly nice about it, because I was certain that, like we always are, we know what we need, but I was wrong. And that's good, because different isn't always better, but better is always different. And the answers to our concerns, problems often lie outside of ourselves. But if we never give ourselves the opportunity to consider someone else's opinion greater than our own, then we end up stuck because our level of thinking never elevates. And this is where I just want to say, the current experience that you call life is only your fault, not your mom, not your parents, not the government. It's your fault because you created it. You made those decisions, right? You said another way, a friend of mine says, you're born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions. And that's the truth.
Jam after jam. Thank you. Thank you. I haven't even started the interview, but go ahead.
Oh, I thought you did.
I'm just like, we calling about the story. I'm over here taking notes. I'm like, different isn't always better. I'm using that. And then I'm trying to catch up, Jay. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to catch up on my own radio show. I'm bringing a king here on the podcast, thinking I'm like, all right, I'm vibing. Like, wait a second. I needed that. I needed that. Definitely needed the decisions one. I ain't never heard that. So thank you. Please continue as I take notes further.
I'm like, I'm trying to make sure that we know I give you what you want, and what people need to hear.
I appreciate you, King. Nah, keep going.
But what it comes down to, though, is we don't like to hear stuff like I'm saying it. We don't like to hear that. You mean it's my fault? Yes. Here's why I say it very simply. No one I'm aware of has ever woken up and said, today, you know what? I'm going to aim for the bottom. Let me see if I can hit rock bottom. Today, that's my goal. I want to do the absolute worst that I can. No, 9 times out of 10, you're saying, I'm going to do the best that I can. Even some days when those days are, I'm going to do the best nothing that I can, because that's what you decided to do that day. That's fine. You still did your best, which means your best wasn't good enough, and that's okay. So the answers lie outside of you. When we can come to terms with that, now we at least have the proper foundation with which to effect change. And then that's what you're looking for. But then we get all messed up thinking change takes forever. No, change happens in a moment. It's acceptance of that change, yours and then those around you, that takes time. So what we've got to understand is, I don't feel like I've done something superhuman or super special other than raise my standards. I decided wealth is for everyone. That means me. I decided that, you know what? If my bank account was 0, that wasn't good enough. Now, at the beginning, when I first started, the goal was to get my bank account to 0. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, and then go from there.
Yep.
But that's where it was. And that's all it's ever been. Because I started, at the time, I was selling our personal possessions on eBay because that's all I had. And then when I ran out of our stuff, I started going to garage sales. So buying stuff from garage sales at a discount, obviously, and then putting it on eBay and selling it at a discount. Because that's all that worked. I'm like, okay, cool. So I did it and I kept doing it. That's when the friend said, you should get involved in real estate investing. And what I didn't know was there's a real estate investing strategy that's exactly like what I was doing on eBay, where you buy something at a discount, sell it on a discount quickly, and you move on. And that's called wholesaling. And that's what I ended up doing. I did around 200 of those transactions, and I would earn between $2,000 to $26,000 each. And that began the recovery, if you will. And what I learned is I didn't know anything about taxes, because when you do that type of work, taxes. I'm like, oh, cool. And then it was like, well, I don't like that. So how do I not have that happen again? And someone said, you got to keep the houses. So I'm like, okay, how do you do that? And that's what I learned to do. I started what I call a house collecting phase. Got well over 400 doors. And that's when I was able to get the cell phone towers, commercial retail, apartment buildings up to 182 units, but lots of single family house, all the things, right? And through that, I learned something that most people also won't tell you. Owning property is great if you want to be wealthy. But if you need income, bad idea until the mortgage is paid off. So I'm now in the situation where I'm realized wholesaling is really good for income, but horrible for wealth. But owning property is great for wealth, but horrible for income. And I'm just like, well, how do I merge the two? And that's when one of my students told me about short-term rentals many, many years ago now. And I'm like, wait, tell me more. That's what short-term rentals ends up doing. It's a mix of both. It gives you the ability to build wealth and income simultaneously while being able to either leverage somebody else's property and then eventually buy your own. And I'm like, well, this makes sense. And that's all we've been doing the last number of years, because what else makes sense? The answer is nothing. And I've done the math. I do math all day for fun, until you have around $10 million of assets under your control, you make more money. Okay, some people are going to really hate this, but you make more money by renting somebody else's property and running it as a short-term rental than you do for buying it. Now, once you've built up enough, income, net income on a monthly basis to where your net income is $20, $30, $40, $50, $80,000 a month or more, or whatever the size down payment is you need, then start buying. That's all I'm saying. That's the message. Use your labor to build assets and then live off your assets. Stop using your labor for income. That's all I've done. I don't think that's superhuman, but I was forced into finding it out because I couldn't walk and talk. I was squatting a bank-owned property, had a credit score of 398, and I just wanted to eat.
Wow. King J. So throughout all of that, there's a podcast, Cashflow Diary podcast. Tell me how that got started, man, and where folks can find you at, and as well as the podcast.
So that got started because some of my business mentors passed away. And at that time, I think I had around 117 houses. So I was thinking in my head, if that had been me, what would I have left behind? And what concerned me was the fact that I thought the only thing that was going to be left behind was a bunch of houses. And I'm like, we don't need more spoiled rich kids, right? So what can I do about it? I started asking myself, what's the most valuable thing I have? And then I realized it's what I know. It's what I know. It's what I know to do. It's my perspective. Those are the things that are value. I know I need to document these things in a diary. Well, what kind of diary is this? It's a diary about how to make cash flow. Cool. And then a friend said, adults would probably want that information too. Really? I don't think so. And he's like, you should try it. There's this thing called podcast. We're like, okay, cool. So it started because I was making a diary on how to make cash flow for my children so that if something happened to me, they would know what to do. And then I got the bright idea, well, how can I verify that I gave all the right information? Well, I realized that other adults were listening, so they became the test subjects, meaning I would know I documented everything I needed to document for my kids if the adults could do it. I didn't really think that it would turn into a business or something of that nature. That was not the plan. But hey, the adults have done it now, so I know my kids have no excuse. And that's the whole thing. And we're a cash flow diary on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, etc. A Cash Flow Diary podcast is, we've been there for a while, and what it comes down to is I just want to make sure we can create more 7-figure families. That's really what it comes down to. That's what I get excited about. 7-figure families. And helping people to understand that wealth is for everyone. That means you. And it's not too late to make that transition.
I hope y'all are listening. Please. I'm listening. I got a pathway, but it's still going the same pathway, but I literally pulled over at the Massey rest stop, exit 34, and about to take a couple of courses. Cell phone towers. I want to talk about that, man. Now, with cell phone towers, is it something, because for those who don't know about the real estate game, you could practically just Google, figure out what steps that you need to get started. And I'm definitely going to pull from you. But cell phone towers, is this something you find on eBay, or do you just know people that have cell phone towers in their backyard and they're like, hey, listen, I'm selling 5 for $25 a pop. I need this today. Let's make it happen. No money down. I just need the cash in a briefcase. Like, how do you go about saying, oh, I own a few cell phone towers?
Well, okay. So I was looking for them. So number one,
okay.
Still
That's step one, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Because I like math a lot. When you look at revenue per square foot, it's hard to compete when it comes to revenue per square foot. When you start looking at that, because no matter how many square feet you have, you want as much revenue as you can generate on a per square foot basis. If you're renting a house, you might be at $1, $2, maybe $4 a square foot or something. If you're doing commercial, maybe it's 8, 9, 10. But when you start looking at the how much money a cell phone tower can generate, because it has a tenant known as the telecommunications company, just like your T-Mobile, your AT&T, etc. That's the tenant paying you, right? And there are many ways to do it. Some of you listening know people who build the cell phone tower, and that's how you guys are playing that game. You build the cell phone tower, typically on vacant land, and then sell that tower, or are hired by the telco to make the tower. Now the telco owns the tower, so they don't have to rent the tower like they would from someone else if someone else owned the tower. And then yet they may still not own the land. So there's a number of plays for those of you with vacant land. This is easily a play for you. Go to americantower.com, American Tower. You'll begin to see some of what I'm talking about. That company, American Tower, is actively looking for land to put towers on today. That's like what they do. Okay. And in this case, and in my case, another way is to find an existing tower. So you could find an existing tower, yes, on vacant land, but you can find an existing tower also on commercial property. So that was the secret right there. Finding a cell phone tower on top of commercial property. So here's my favorite way of doing it is find a commercial property that you're willing to buy, that you want, that also has a cell phone tower. Typically, not always, but most often, that owner of the building will sell both of those things, the building and the cell phone tower, together. That's what you're purchasing in your purchase contract. Well, the thing is if you separate those, you can separate the cell phone tower in its lease from the actual building. So now what was one asset is two. You can then sell that lease, whatever the remaining term is, what have you, to Wall Street. And they'll pay you very nicely for it. So you may be getting $1,200, $2,500, $3,600 a month or something of that nature. And even on something as quote unquote small as $1,200 a month for 20 years, which most people are like, yeah, that's great, cool. But it's still a 20-year risk. You've got interest rate risk. You got counterparty risk. On something as small as $1,200 in today's inflationary economy, you probably, I can see you easily getting an offer for $250,000 to $300,000 for a contract like that. Wow. Which then you're asking yourself, do I want $1,200 a month for the next 20 years, or would you rather have $300,000 today? Well, you ain't got to ask me that twice. I can do math. I'll take the money today.
Don't worry about that. Oh man, Jay.
Yeah.
Somebody just said, forget it. I'm done listening. I just need to book a call and get connected with them. Give me a step-by-step, play-by-play on how that needs to be done.
Cashflowdiary.com/help me, please. I'm right there. It's a service called Clarity FM. I've been there for a while. You can, if you really, really, really want to book a call, you can do that. But the best thing I would say, start listening to the podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on Clubhouse. We're on everything. And we give away so much free stuff. There's probably whatever question you're looking for is probably answered there. But if there's something super specific, you can go there. But again, I tend to warn people against it because most people think that I'm charging or things for the amount of time I'm spending with you. No, I'm charging for the amount of value that I can create for you inside of the conversation. Because and we always work on, a 10-to-1, meaning if it's a grand, that means you're going to make 10. If it's 15 grand, you're going to make 150. If it's $1 million, you're going to make more. Whatever it is, I'm always making sure that we give more in use value than we ask in cash value, because that's just a principle that I believe in. But start with the free stuff, because you don't know what you don't know. And before we hop all the way to, let me get on the phone with you, consider with what it is that you're looking to do, because many times those calls, you're not clear. And I hate those, not because I don't
want to make money.
Yeah, you're not clear though. And that's what I mean. Clarity leads to power, and it's the power to decide and act. Because when you say you want to make money, I'm going, cool, when and how much and how. Well, what by when are always the first two questions. And everything makes money. We could do vintage cars. You want to make money that way? One of my favorite assets is song rights. I love those. But is that what we want to talk about? But because it's still cash flow, it's the same as, we could talk about cell phone towers. Yeah, got that too. The point is, you have to be clear on what it is that you want to do, when you would like to do it. And then sometimes you must be open to an adjustment, simply meaning there's no such thing as an unrealistic goal, just an unrealistic time frame. And at the end of the day, getting all of that down and turning it into some sort of action plan of what to do, that's my happy place. It's easy because I like doing it. And putting deal structures together, love it. Happy place, like doing it. But if you aren't clear, it's hard for me to help. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it leads me to my next question. We talked prior to starting the show, over 600 episodes.
Yeah.
I know you changed thousands of lives, have converted so many 9-to-5ers into being their own boss, right, their own business. Right. Throughout it all, what is one success story you could look back on and be like, wow, I did something really amazing there? Or can you? Because I've done so many.
So this is so well timed. I was just doing this yesterday because I was about to do a presentation. I was looking for a testimonial video, and I ran across one of my very, very first clients. And she came to me because it was strange, because when I asked her, so what do you want, real estate to do for you? What do you want? Well, I want to have a baby. I was like, wait, what? I don't do that. I'm like, I don't understand. And I needed her to unpack that a little bit so that I could go, I think, right now I'm thinking you're in the wrong place. But what it comes down to is she wanted to be at a certain income so that she could feel comfortable to have a child. And I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And at the time she was, still single and all of this other stuff. So I started, we started working together. And really long story short, I mean, she's had years where she's made $500,000. She got married. They're on their second kid now. And it's stuff like that, because we just don't realize sometimes the impact that we could be making when we're just thinking about, like I said, in my case, documenting for my kids or helping other people find the greatness that's inside them. I've had people fly from South Africa. I've not stepped foot on the continent yet. I've not stepped foot on the continent, flying from South Africa to come meet me, to shake my hand, to say thank you for all the podcasts, because of your podcast, we were able to open an orphanage. I have no idea how to do that.
Wow.
What did I say? I don't know.
But then just take your gems, your values, and I'm looking forward to the same thing. In fact, I know it. I'm already inspired. Like I said, I already got this pathway set, looking to add on to it. I mean, it's gems after gems. You talked about different is not always better, but better is always different. You talk about clarity means power. I mean, it's just success after success after success. Now, unless you're an alien, which, it would make sense as far as the amazing things that you're doing.
Okay.
When you have those down days, because not everybody is like, oh, wow, I'm pumped up for the day. I'm alive. This feels great. And throw on some Tony Robbins and, ET hip hop preacher and say, well,
Right,
I'm
right.
good for the day now. On those days where it's not 100%, you are not King J. You are like, it is what it is today. How do you stay motivated to keep going, keep moving forward? Man?
Well, okay, read, pray, the Bible. That's by far the most consistent thing. But also reminding myself that I have made a difference. I do make a difference. There are people whose lives would be, in some cases, tragically different, and that helps to some degree to know that not only am I in a space where I belong, but the world appreciates my presence as well. Because there was a time I had a person embezzle around $1.2 million, and that was discouraging to say the least. And there was a lot of necessary healing and rebuilding that was required, because I'd lost connection to the fact that that instance didn't remove or negate or wipe away the fact that I made a difference for others. And that's the beginning of how I began to rebuild me so that I could keep helping people in some way, shape, or form. And that's, again, I still do that today, understanding the difference between a failure event or having failed at something and being a failure. We often confuse our identity and our role, and that's the challenge. I am a 10. I may have performed in my role today like a 4. The two are not the same. And it's okay to experience something that you did not intend. We tend to call those mistakes or errors, and understand that not only are you not alone, because see, that was the biggest thing that was bugging me when that happened. Is I thought that I was the only one that could ever be, quote unquote, so stupid to have $1.2 million taken from them. That's what I thought. I was wrong. I didn't know that until I was in a space where other business owners were admitting, yeah, oh yeah, that happened to me too. I'm like, wait, what? Are you like for reals? Okay. I started to feel, I gave myself permission to begin to feel better. And sometimes that's what we have to do, because if we keep waiting for some external source of validation, it may not come. If you don't have an internal locus of control, you could be in trouble. And maintaining and protecting your mental space as an entrepreneur is by far one of the most important things you can do, because other families are literally depending upon you and your decisions. Every decision that I make affects hundreds, thousands, and in some cases, tens of thousands of people. So therefore, guess what? I have to be clear. And it sounds strange, but me deciding something as simple as how many hours to sleep affects others who never know me, because, hey, I don't know what decisions I'm going to make tomorrow, but I know something I'm going to decide will have a cascading and or ripple effect in some way, shape, or form. And if I don't make that decision tomorrow, or I'm not cleared tomorrow, or do something weird, then that's going to have an impact. And I've got to be able to withstand that impact, whether positive or negative, or be in a position to actually make that decision. Because the more opportunity is lost from not making a decision than the wrong decision. And unfortunately, we vilify the things that happen to us when they don't go our way. We vilify experience, which is the very thing that the world needs more of, is experienced individuals. And we don't even understand ourselves that we could try something 100 times, maybe even 1,000. And then if you never achieve the goal, do you realize that you could still write an ebook that says, here's 1,000 ways I tried to achieve this and didn't do it? Read it, and you can avoid it too. And you know what? I never even tell you how to do the thing, but so many of us are so afraid to make a mistake. You'd buy that ebook.
Because
you don't want to make well, girl, I don't want to make those mistakes. I'm not going to do
chapter
that.
17. Ooh, almost did the same thing. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of books and ebooks, besides folks, picking up not only the Bible, I don't care what your religion is, there's things in there that you could take as lessons to make yourself stronger and wiser. But in addition to your book, the Cashflow Diary, what other books would you recommend for someone who's either getting started or maybe they're 2 to 3 years in their business and they're looking for the next level up?
The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Awakening the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. Sales Dogs by Blair Singer. The ABCs of Investing in Gold, so you can really understand the monetary system. Sandler, You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar by David H. Sandler. The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. I mean, I can keep going, but
if folks don't make this a plan for themselves, I don't care when you listen to this, 2023, 2028, 2032, those are, your plan, in addition to the books that we have mentioned. So 2023 is coming up. The date is 12/29/2022.
Yes.
What's a year from now look like for King J. Massey?
Well, so this next year, I'm expecting to have my first $1 million month. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we'll be obviously pursuing the $1 million day. So we'll see how that goes. I'm also expecting to close on at least 1, if not 2 hotels. So that should be great as well. And then we're going to go for we're building a SaaS for the first time. So that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to launching and making that happen because we've got a number of entities now, and I have decided that one of them will go public. So I'm putting the team around me to help build the entity in a position to make that happen. I know that it's a journey, and I know it's going to be, and I know I'm going to learn a lot, but ultimately, here's what I also know. 4-figure me is not the same as 5-figure me, is not the same as 6-figure me, is not the same as 7-figure me, and will not be the same as 8-figure me or 9, and that's fine. So it's really just time to make sure that I leave everything out on the playing field, that I know that I could have done nothing better or different, that I show up in my kids and spouse's lives the way that I'm supposed to, the way that I expect me to, because sometimes we have to hold ourselves to a standard that others would not dare. And I think a lot of the higher performers would agree with me in saying things like, we're the only ones who really know if we're actually doing all we can do, because so few people are willing to question, because they would rather trade and be us than actually challenge us in some way, shape, or form. And that's really what it is that I'm up to, is how can I be the best version of me? And right now, my biggest challenge is to learn to work through other people, aka put a nice leadership team at the 8 business units that we've got going, so that the leadership team can run things, not Jay run things.
Love that. Wow. All right. Well, shucks. King, I appreciate you, man. That was just gem after gem after gem. One more plug-in for the folks at home. Where can folks find you at on all social media channels, and what should they be Googling and looking for?
So it's at Cashflow Diary. So we're at Cashflow Diary. In fact, we give away a lot of free content all the time. You can go to cashflowdiary.com/blueprint, for example, is a course that we have where it'll help you get started on how to get your first short-term rental. And we are always coming up with new things, because it's that the marketplace constantly changes, which I absolutely love. And you can bet when I close on this hotel, y'all gonna know how to do it too, because everything that I have ever done, I've documented, and that's what we end up making available and teaching others how to do. So, cell phone towers included. When it comes down to, how do you do those things? I just document what I do, and then I go keep doing it over and over and over again, and maybe even catch us on Clubhouse. It's, again, at Cashflow Diary everywhere.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And Jay, you've been dropping gem after gem after gem after gem, like I mentioned. Can you give us one more gem that folks can pretty much take home with them and really help them move forward in the direction they need to?
Yeah, I often say fail fast, fail forward, fail frequently. Failing fast means, why are you hesitating to even start to get feedback? We forget that you can make all the plans in the world, and until you've asked someone to buy, until you've asked someone to join you, until you've asked someone else, you have no idea what your customer is going to do, right? Fail forward. When you experience an event that doesn't go your way, it doesn't mean that that thing isn't for you, and go start over somewhere else. Why would you do that? You actually increase your risk. You are exchanging a set of knowns for a new set of unknowns. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? You paid full price for a lesson. You might as well stick around and try to get some value from it now. So just understand. And then failing frequently, you're learning something new. Be patient with yourself. You didn't learn to cook overnight. You didn't learn to read in a day. You didn't learn to ride a bike instantly. It didn't happen. I don't care how many ebooks you read and how many conferences you went to. You didn't learn whatever it is you're trying to learn in a time frame that was very, very small. That is not how humans work. This is not the Matrix. We can't just download it. I wish we could. And we don't have all day. Many of us are attacking these things like, you're going to be here tomorrow. I don't know how you know that. I don't know that. So if yesterday I experienced a failure event towards something that I want to achieve, why am I waiting a week to try again? 2 weeks to try again, 3 months to try again, do you understand? We don't fail frequently enough, and therefore we don't build the necessary resilience. We don't build the necessary experience to actually ever make the thing happen. We never learn what we need to learn because we don't get back up and get into the ring. I don't care if you fall off the horse. How long do you stay down? Learn to stay down less time and just get back up.
I love that. I love that. Well, King Jay, I appreciate you so much, man.
Sure.
Definitely looking to have you back on after you reach $1 billion status. So
yes.
Don't forget about me. But yeah, look forward to having you back on. Definitely, folks, if you haven't heard already, cashflowdiary.com. Please go there today to get started. King Jay, yes. Thank you again so much for being on the show, man, and all the gems you dropped. I'm
glad I could be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the RNG Radio Show. Be sure to like and subscribe for more episodes and future content. If you'd like to learn more, visit us at danielumstead.com. Stay blessed, my fellow millionaires.